Welcome to Adala's Backyard Garden. In this video, we will be sharing few things that have been growing in the past 6 weeks or so in our garden. Now, our moringa tree flourished and were able to harvest some 30 moringa pods from one of our plants. Now, this particular tree was flowering in the month of July. That's why we could harvest so many moringa pods. Now, we were also able to harvest a lot of bottle gourd, two different varieties, the speckled one and the light green variety. We got quite a bit just from two plants, and I was pretty satisfied with the yield that we got. There are two of them still growing in the month of October, and now it's mid October, and we hope to harvest these two in the next couple of days. I don't know how far it will grow depending on the weather. Another of our gourds that did really well was the rich gourd plant. We had so many rich gourds. Many of them we were not able to harvest at the right time. We were not outside much, so many of them um, were just left for seed because they just matured pretty quick. Uh, we still had a lot, many that we harvested, so we were able to give it to some of our friends and family nearby. Now, we just had two or three vines of these rich gourd plants, and they provided pretty good amount of rich gourd for us. We also had bell peppers growing in. As soon as the weather cooled, all of these plants started producing pretty well. We had limited space, so we grew many of these vines together: the ridge gourd, the snake gourd, the hyacinth beans, also the bitter gourd. All of them were entwined together. Ideally, I would have had it separate, but um, we still had pretty good yield. You can see many of them, we couldn't even see where they were growing, they were all over the place. These ridge gourds were not started from seed. I bought them from a local nursery for $1 and few cents. And there is one of the cantaloupes that were growing. That was a volunteer plant that grew up from somewhere, and I just let it grow. Some of the bitter gourd we didn't even harvest them because we didn't come out into the yard much during the months of August and mid September. You can see how many rich gourds were growing all over the place. You can grow a lot of vegetables even if you have a very small yard. If you're well planned in the months of March, April, if you do a lot of planting, you can see that we get plenty of harvest. The only thing that I find difficult is to come out and harvest all of these things that are growing. So these are the long beans and the short beans that were growing in one of the fence area. You can see how many of it we were able to harvest. It was growing so much that we were not even harvesting at one point. It was like all over the place, and many of our okra had dried up on the vine. We let it grow for seed, but you can see that it's still growing. Okra is one plant that grows without any care. You don't need any fertilizer, not much of anything. It keeps on growing. That's the red burgundy okra. We had a couple of plants. We didn't get a whole lot of harvest from them, but we also started them late, so we were not expecting much. I was happy to see the few pods that I got. I have not fertilized the plants in the last 6 weeks or so. We still have a pretty good yield. We have brinjal growing in the month of October. We don't have a whole lot, but at least a handful. This is the sponge gourd vine. Now, this has produced quite a lot of sponge gourd. We are not harvesting all of them. Um, the newer ones are the ones that I'm harvesting now. This is the hyacinth bean pods. They are very tasty in stir fries. I love this bean pod, and This was started from pods that I had purchased from the grocery store. I had bought some hyacinth bean pods from the grocery store, and I purposely picked up one or two pods that were mature, and I planted those pods. I want to say somewhere in the month of June, and to my surprise, two of them picked up, and that's what the plant is over here. These are the plants that grew from the grocery store pod, and this year I'll be saving some of the seeds. I was pretty surprised to see the yield. Our curry leaf plants also did pretty good in the last 2 months or so. I have stopped fertilizing these plants also. They are on a drip irrigation system, so they get watered pretty well even during the summer months. You can see in the background we have some moringa that was grown just for the leaves, and we will be harvesting them before the cold weather hits because the leaves will otherwise turn yellow. We want to just make use of those leaves before it is of no use. So here you can see that the curry leaf plants have done pretty well. We also have the green chilies growing in between all of these plants, and we have continuously harvested green chilies off of them. We also have a very big moringa plant which we grew from seed last year, and we will be using the leaves of this plant just for some dishes. Now this is the harvest that we had on one of the days, and you can see that we have chilies and long beans, short beans. We also have some dry sponge gourd which we have harvested to get the loofah out of them. This is the harvest from yesterday, and you can see that we were able to harvest two of our first and our last snake gourds growing in our garden. We had a lot of sponge gourds that were growing. Now, if you, this is a time to save your seeds and also to look out for very good deals in the garden supply stores, because this is the time when most of the things go on clearances and good time to buy. If you appreciate these kind of videos, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for watching.